Everybody, Eric Dorward here at the Spartan Rocketry Club, continuing my build of the Estes Black Brant II, and we are to the point where I'm going to attach some decals. Now, I've already taken the time to trim them out, and I had to make a few adjustments. The first thing was, might as well get started here, I actually trimmed up a long piece. It is supposed to go right here, and from the way the instructions are printed, and we're going to make heavy reference to this, it goes right around this joint right here, and it looks like it's supposed to go like through a crack in the fin. Well, I don't really have a crack in the fin, certainly not big enough to be threading fragile decals through, so I chopped it up into thirds basically. Hopefully I did a good job of that. They are all exactly the same size because I trimmed them that way, but hopefully they are also like not too big to fit in and also like not too small. Meanwhile, everything else I chopped up. This one, I generally use scissors for these, but anytime you have to cut a notch out, I used a hobby knife to cut them out. These all have little white text on them. I haven't trimmed that apart yet. I'm not going to do that for a while, so I didn't feel like there was much rush to it. Anyway, I've got my custard cup full of warm water here. It was pretty hot, tepid now. I've got some some paper towels here to blot. Whenever you do this, you want the backing to still kind of resist a little bit, so you don't want it to float away. But you also don't want it to be obviously so stiff that it doesn't come off. So we're looking for kind of a happy medium there. Alright, these are water slide decals, so they do slide when wet, which is nice. Yeah, and so long as your fingers are wet too, you should be able to position them without a whole lot of difficulty. It feels like this is actually going to be a bit too long. These are incredibly thin plastic, so you can tear them inadvertently very easily. This time though, I'm going to try to purposefully cut to get rid of the excess. Now, you can certainly wait until this is dry as well, but I figure I might as well show one. Alright, so get rid of that excess. I am going to trim the rest of those when they're dry, I think, or drier later. So it was pretty close. All my cuts are going to be a little too long, and that's okay. I can live with that. I'm going to do all three of these, at least for now. The other major thing I needed to do, so this is kind of like my Bible for where I'm going to be putting everything. I marked here where my launch lug is. This part right here is like the biggest open white spot, and it does more or less line up with the launch lug. The launch lug has to go there. It can't go anywhere else because otherwise there'd be decals over top of it. So launch lug's got to go right there. So that means that I need to be careful about where I start all this stuff. The other thing too is one of these black decals at the bottom, well, I'll show you this in a second, but I had to cut a slit, or I chose to cut a slit into it because it looks like it's supposed to accommodate's probably not the right word, but the fin is supposed to go kind of like right through the middle of it. And that would obviously not work very well. So this one, when I put this on here, it looks like I got about half of the decal, a little bit up the fin on either side. I might not worry too much about that. It'd be nice to kind of slide it down here a little bit though. See if I can't do that. Now, so long as I say, so long as your fingers are wet, you can move these about without any real trouble. But as soon as your fingers start to dry or the decal starts to dry, that's when your biggest risk of tearing the decal happens. So move reasonably quickly. This is going to take me more than one cup of water here because, unsurprisingly, it doesn't stay hot forever, and it really does. The backing really does come off much more easily when it is quite hot. as opposed to room temperature, tepid, whatever you want to call it. The good news is I don't need to put any decals on the nose cone, so it's one thing I don't need to worry about. Everything else at this point, there are a lot of big decal placements. Big decals generally seem to work better than small ones, just because they're stronger, because there's more material. It's harder to damage them. This one I rather like its placement too, because it's covering up the transition between the white paint and the black paint, which it was pretty good, but it wasn't, when I painted this, it wasn't perfect, but it wasn't bad, so good enough. Alright, now that part was the easy part, easy part that didn't matter too much. I'm going to start right here with the middle one, because that's where my launch lug is. I'm going to rotate this so I know what I'm talking about. Launch lug here goes in the middle of this white block. This is my split one, but the other three are going to be identical, so I'm just going to grab one of them and chuck it in the water. And this one is going to go right here, basically. I think what's going to end up happening is, and I can probably even just like eyeball this, so this is the slit that I cut into this. I cut it a little bit too long, apparently, because I was thinking, I measured it actually, I measured it back basically to the junction between the white and the black paint. So this is what I was anticipating. But I forgot that the silver part's going to happen. What I'm going to end up doing is I'm probably just going to get a Sharpie and color that in after all this is dried. But I did measure it. I measured it rather carefully, but I didn't quite think the whole process through. Alright, so next little bit here. This one, according to my diagram here, is going to go basically flush with the silver decal, but also flush with the fin. Like so. I'm going to toss another one of these in. Alright, so I do want to make sure this is as straight as I can get it. Didn't appear to be very straight there initially. If you want, you could, I probably will, I'm smoothing this out now because I'm pretty confident that I did a decent job with this, but you can always grab a ruler, use that as a straight edge reference, and that looks pretty good. Initially, I mean, you'd think, hey, it's a straight line, you can't get that wrong. You definitely can. So, do be careful with that. Oh, okay. So, I did toss the next one in already. That was probably a little bit over aggressive, because the next one, as I'm rotating it this way, is going to be the split one. So, I'm going to actually rotate the other direction here and put the next one on, and it looks like, it's kind of hard to tell here, but it looks like this is in the middle. That's not as great as I'd like it to be. I think what I'm going to do actually is, because I got a little ahead of myself, the split one's going to go like this, right? And then the next full black one is going to go against this fin right here. So that's where I'm actually going to put this decal that I probably did a little ahead of time. And if I do this right, the one that I already have on and this one should be 180 degrees opposed to each other, or at least awfully close to it. Alright, that looks pretty good. let's see. Yeah, they look about 180 degrees opposed to each other, so I am reasonably pleased with that. Alright, last one I'm going to do in this section, and this water is basically, it's not warm anymore, but whatever, is the one that I split. So here's hoping this goes pretty well. I think after I get this one on, this one, the last of the four, I'm going to do off camera. I'm also going to put these little white, at least mostly these little white ones on, and they look like they go on the fins, one on the front, one on the back, which is weird because there are 9 of them, and there are, oh, I see, apparently they also, I can barely see it, but apparently they go up here on the nose cone section as well, I guess. I don't know, it's kind of hard to see. I'm going to actually consult the pretty packaging picture, and maybe that'll help. Alright, so this is going to be a tricky one because of the way that it's split. I got it started a little lower down here, and I'm going to try to get both of these little legs basically where they're supposed to go, and then just pull the decal and hope that it more or less comes off straight. That's not bad. The legs seem to work independently of each other, which is fine. But I do want them, I want them at the same place. I want them on the silver line. And yeah, I have a little, like, there we go. I had a bubble there that I was not getting rid of with my initial efforts. I think that's because the decal wasn't straight going this way. Alright, so I'm gonna blot this direction first. Not really blotting, to be honest. And as you can see, I did cut a little bit too far, but again, that feels like I could either ignore it, or I could get myself a black Sharpie and just kind of color that in. You wouldn't think that that would look good, but it's actually not that bad. You know, I've done way uglier things with rockets than doing a little Sharpie coloring. Alright, so anyway, the last of these is going to go right here. It's going to go in the middle. Apparently it's going to line up with the launch lug, which is interesting, but hopefully it won't make much of a difference. I'm going to do that off camera. I'm going to do some of the little white decals off camera as well, but I've got more to do on camera. So I will see you then. Thanks for watching.